of Hello Ladies, Feminism, and Pro Wrestling. I am one of your hosts, Sabrina Hannon,
I am Megan Manley.
and many things have happened in the world of wrestling. Um, on the shows themselves, they've been good.
Yeah,
They've been good on the shows. Um, I will, well, I guess maybe I'll wait for these till later.
I'll save those
Okay.
for a later segment.
Yeah. Um, but we're gonna kick it off in AEW land. They had a really good showing this past week with pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that both Megan and I have been waiting for, Hookhausen, has officially happened. Ooh, ooh.
I was so excited. I flat out was like, as soon as there's Hookhausen merch, it is mine.
Mhm. Yes. And I don't think, surprisingly, I don't think they have it yet. Like, they could honestly put out like a sad little bag of chips with like a bow on it as like a plushie, and people would buy it. I'm pretty sure.
I checked a couple days ago and I still didn't see anything. So I don't think they've released any like shirts or anything yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah, the fan housing group I'm a part of definitely would have spammed the shit out of that. Although, Danhausen's YouTube channel, he is friends with the Impractical Jokers, and there's a great video of him and Q from the Impractical Jokers just chit-chatting at the Impractical Jokers headquarters, I guess. Like, it was definitely Q's office. So that was fun. I recommend watching that if you're into Danhausen and or Q from Impractical Jokers. He's a cat dad, so he has my endorsement. That's really all it takes.
I mean, that's what first sold you on. Who was it?
So many people.
Oh, WWE, Scottish warrior person.
Drew McIntyre?
Yes, thank you. I don't know why that escaped my head because we talked about that a lot. I think on like our first ever podcast.
Yeah, and about how that is Drew's cat dad status is what ruined Nom's surprise to me that he got me that book. Because I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a picture of a cat looking at a book, two of my favorite things, and then realized it was a wrestling thing, three of my favorite things, and just said like, "Oh, did you know?" Nom was so the book came like 2 days later, and because he can never keep surprises from me because he accidentally ruins it somehow. He says something and then I wind up knowing exactly what it is.
That happens.
Mm-hmm. So Drew McIntyre's cat ruined it this time.
Bad cat.
So cute. I remember that photo still. But yes, Hookhausen, yes, is a thing. There is much rejoicing. Should be very, very nice, very evil.
Yes. Very violent too.
Very violent, very cursing. All of those things. And then, of course, Danhausen, along with many other people, were part of some baddies photos, which were fantastic.
Punk was my favorite. Nobody looked more fierce than CM Punk. That pout was like Tyra Banks would be proud.
Yes, yeah. That he could go on Drag Race with that pout.
I was definitely like America's Next Top Modeling, like the smizing. Remember that? Like the smiling with just your eyes. I'm like, yeah, Punk's got that down.
Yeah, and I love that Alice or Malachi Black is just in there.
Yeah, that was great. I love it. I love seeing like backstage shenanigan bullshit like that, and like just seeing like who's friendly with each other, and like like it just because their on-screen personas are just like so different for the most part from how like goofy they probably are backstage. And it just seems like the AEW people just have like a lot of fun backstage between the different vlogs and the silly pictures that you see, and it just seems like a really like fun work environment. And I just love seeing shit like that.
Yeah, there was I kind of think that Malachi Black was in that photo because Queen Zelina would have found that so amusing. His wife would have just been like, "Oh yeah, you're a baddie, He's also a cat dad. They have like 6 cats, I think.
Aw.
I think they're all pretty much no. They at least have a couple of the smushed face cats. They might not all be smushed face, but
I love those little smushy face cats.
mm-hmm.
I always tend to like people who like cats because I feel like it says a lot about someone if they're not a cat person, because cats are very like consent based.
Mm-hmm.
And dogs are just, I have nothing against dogs. Like, I like dogs too. They're great. But dogs are easy. I mean, they're just like, sure, whatever you want.
You're good.
But like a cat, they will touch you or love you on their own terms. And they have a bad rep because of that. And it's nothing like cats aren't bitches. It's just they don't want to be touched. They're not going to be touched. Like,
yeah. They're a lesson in consent for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, the other thing that we were both very excited about was Chris Statlander has made her like it seems like official return. Like I know she came out before, but the
Layla Hirsch injury kind of like halted that whole whatever was planned for her. So it's kind of sad that another injury brought her back into the mix, but I'm glad to see her again. She's my favorite like woman on AEW's roster.
Yeah, she has a crazy amount of talent. It's kind of been insane that they haven't been using her as well, especially like they talked about, what a big up and comer she was and like all this, and she was doing all the stuff with Best Friends, and as soon as Orange Cassidy got injured, they're just like, Best Friends, do we bring them out still? Occasionally, yes.
I think a lot with Statlander is like I don't think they knew how to handle the alien gimmick, and I'm kind of curious now how it's going to go forward since that seems to be dropped.
Yeah. Which I really enjoyed how her makeup was and the face paint. It gave her a really original look. I'm not the biggest fan of the makeup that they're doing now with her. No, like the weird little, yeah. I don't know. I want something just a little bit more.
Oh, I like it.
I want some glitter.
I'm actually really like in love with her new look. I like it a lot. The darker hair, the blue streak, the not crit. I don't know. I just like it.
I just want a little bit more glam. That's all I want. Shocking. I know.
I know you're very glittery, and as you could tell, I am not. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Like this is great, and I was like, dip her in glitter.
I'm always more like muted, like neutral tones, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like that.
The funny thing is, I started off today because I'm part of Influencer, and they sent me makeup from Urban Decay to try, which are neutrals, and I was like, I'm gonna use that today. And then I happened to see the hot pink, and things just went sideways from there.
Shocking.
Yeah. And I just started playing and got to here. But yeah, back to Chris Statlander. She should have been involved in the Owen Hart tournament from the beginning. Maybe they were going to have her as the Joker, as like a reading. I don't know.
My feeling is that the women's Joker is going to be a debut, and the men's Joker is going to be a return. I think it's going to be Miro on the men's side, and I know a lot of people think that it's going to be. Well, he won't be Cesaro. He'd be what, like Claudio? That's his real name, I think, or that's what he is at least on Twitch. I know that Claudio's Cafe.
Real. Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's Athena, formerly Ember Moon.
Yeah.
I kind of have a feeling that it's going to be. I don't think we're getting another men's like new person. I think Miro's coming back.
I very much so hope that it's Ember Moon, Athena as well. I absolutely adore her, both as a human being and her in the ring is she's a wonderful person to watch. She's like magic in the ring.
And she's another nerd. I love gamer nerds.
Yes. And then, so Miro, I have not missed. I've kind of forgotten that he's not there.
Really?
Yep.
I mention him every week when Brian and I are watching. I'm like having my own personal like Miro countdown of like how long is he gone? When is he gonna be back? I honestly miss him. I miss his promos, like the backstage promos he was doing. I liked them. I thought they were funny. Like they were funny and like good at the same time. Like the shit that he threw in about his wife used to crack me up. But they were like also interesting. I don't know. I liked his work that he's been doing in AEW since he left Kip Sabian. And yeah, I miss him. Like, it's not as much of a hole for me as like Kenny being gone or Cody being on a rival company. Those two I really feel the losses. Like I miss them a lot on the show. But yeah, I do feel with Miro. Like I ask like every week, I'm like, when is he coming back? Like, is he injured? Was he doing a movie? Like, what is going on? I'd like to see him back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I really like his interviews when he's like out of character, but sort of in character. You know, the things that they do. I've always he gives a good interview. Because I think he is funny and he's not someone that you would expect to be funny.
No.
Like on his own. And I mean, that's a lot of skill too, to be funny in a language that is not your native tongue. I give a lot of props to anyone who's able to do that, like Asuka. She could literally know English and still get across the hilarity.
Yeah, she's such a gem, and I'm so glad she's back.
Yes.
I missed her a lot.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I think is that all I wrote down for AEW? I think no, it's not. Moxley and Jericho.
Oh,
yes, all of that with Eddie. So it was in Long Island. So Eddie Kingston was a god there. MJF was the mega god.
The only place he's a face, and it's the only place that CM Punk is a heel. He was a heel again.
Yep. Yeah. Huge heel there. MJF, like, they just worship that man the second he walks out. I mean, he does refer to Long Island as the best place on earth constantly, so that might be why. But yes. I love how he talks to that audience versus literally every other audience ever.
I know.
It was just beautiful. And then not letting Wardlow speak at all. Like, I would really hate it. Wink, 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 wink. If you guys wink, 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 wink.
That was great. You know what I really appreciate? So, other places, if you have a heel and they're in their hometown, they will shit on their hometown. They're still a heel in their hometown. They'll, play the I'm glad I got out of here card and like you people suck and blah, blah, blah and get booed still. I really appreciate that even though MJF is a heel, he doesn't have to shit on his hometown. He can actually go home and be like a baby face there. And I'm kind of loving that like Long Island is becoming like the bizarro land of AEW. Like it's reversed for certain people. It's just I love that whole segment. I love every time they go there because I hope they go there a lot because MJF is just like last time he came out in his Letterman jacket that like I'm positive was his actual jacket from school, and it just
he was only wearing it like 4 years ago,
right? And then you come out there once with everybody like carrying him out? Was that Long Island too? Or
It had to have been.
I just it's so refreshing to see different shit like that.
I think it's very specific also to MJF that he does that. And again, because for some reason, like, he's written it into his character that he fully believes that Long Island, New York is the best place on earth. It is his Disney World.
Right. And there are many people that are from New York that would say that that's not even the best borough.
Some people wouldn't even call it a borough. So. Yeah, so that whole thing was just great. Wardlow's face to all of it. The suits throughout the whole, like, Sean Spears in that white suit was fantastic. Wardlow always looks great. Even Smart Mark Sterling looked great.
God, he was great. And spider monkeying on Wardlow, and then the commercial on BTE that came out of that if you don't watch BTE, MJF also retweeted it, and Mark Sterling tweeted it himself. But like, these lawyer commercials that he's doing are just, they're like so
ambulance chaser type commercials.
And he totally pulled the Simpsons thing where do you remember the lawyer from The Simpsons, Phil Hartman used to voice Lionel Hutz? And this is like an old Simpsons episode where Marge and Homer go to him for something. And they're like, oh, your card says no money down. And he's like, oh, wait, let me fix that. And he puts a comma after no, and then after money down, an exclamation point. And he's like, here you go, fix it. It's no money down. Like, he did something like that on the commercial too, where it was like no obligation, but it said like no comma, and it was like obligation with an exclamation point. And just little shit like that just kills me.
Yeah, he's Smart Mark. I've always enjoyed his work. I know you're a newer fan of his, but he is just like really peaking right now. I feel really peaking.
I feel like before he was just kind of blah. Like, he was just like the dude that was with Jade and like occasionally said some shit, and like but like now, like, his personality showing more, and like they're featuring him on BTE, and he's not just with Jade. Like, he was on for what, like a half hour straight with like 3 different people on Wednesday.
I mean, there's Jade, MJF. He's suing Danhausen.
Yeah. So yeah, he was, what's his face? Tony Nese. So
yes,
he was literally like a half hour straight. It was like the Mark Sterling hour. Like, I'm enjoying him now that he's with different people. And I loved when Jade came out and looked at him, and she's like, what the hell happened to you? And she's just like, never mind, I don't care.
I love everything that Jade is doing. Like, like the baddies thing I thought was going to be really stupid, but it's working.
Yeah.
Mainly the guest baddies, but still working.
Yeah.
Just, it was I think anytime that they're in Long Island, it tends to be a good show.
Yeah. You know what they're doing with Jade is they're progressively making her like more and more and more arrogant, and that's going to be what ends up costing her in the end. Like, it's going to be like peak arrogance where she thinks she can do no wrong, and she's going to mess up in a match, like, you know, like showboating or whatever, and that's how she's going to lose her title. It just seems like they're progressively, like, in baby steps, making her more and more obnoxious, and I love it.
I wouldn't even necessarily say baby steps. They're just going for it sometimes.
I would, just because, like, it's like slowly like, she's always been arrogant, but it's like slowly each week getting just a little bit worse. So if, like, you went back and looked at like the first time we saw her compared to now, you'd be like, oh wow, yeah, that's a major jump. Because we're seeing her every week, like, it doesn't feel like it's been that much of a jump. So that's why, like I said, it's like a slow rise to like peak. She's gonna fuck herself over. That's what's gonna happen.
And the great thing is we are seeing her every week.
And
they're probably still okay. There definitely still are people who are like, oh, Jade's not. She's so green still. I kind of think that's one of the reasons why she dyed her hair green. I was like, fuck off.
100%, I agree with that.
Yeah. Because she is a smart lady, like outside of wrestling in general. Like, she is a very smart woman. and she seems like she has an excellent sense of humor. So I just love everything she does, and she's become like a steady pair of hands too, like, or sturdy, not steady. She's not a surgeon. Sturdy pair of hands. But yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss in AEW world?
Yeah, I'm a little upset with the Scorpio Sky thing. I forgot that's something I wanted to talk about. I don't love storylines where it's like the heel face thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like that he was gonna make a face turn. Like, I'm just afraid it's gonna be like this was the fake swerve, and then he is gonna go babyface when they have their show in California, and that's annoying. Like, I don't really like him with the group he's with right now. I'd much rather see him solo. And if he's still going to be feuding with Sammy and Ty Conti, like, they should have just pulled the trigger on the face turn, because I'm sorry, but that couple's not going to be face. As much as they're going to want to try to book them that way, like, they're too unlikable right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that kind of irritated me. And not only because I was a fan of SCU, and that kind of broke my heart that he killed Kaz after, but like, and I'm sitting there like screaming, like, where's CD, come out. But yeah, I don't like the big show like flip flop where, you know, they're killing face 3 times within the same episode of a show, like that type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only thing I wanted to touch on, is that kind of didn't like that booking decision.
Yeah. I like him with Ethan Page, but nobody else. Like, I don't think they need to have anybody else. They're both just so good. They don't need other talking points. I feel like everybody else kind of brings them down.
They're not two people that need a mouthpiece. Like, some people aren't great on the mic and they need that, like, that person that can talk and rub you the wrong way, and they don't need that. Like, they can put that, why am I blanking on his name right now? The old dude that sucks. The Cornette character, that's kind of what they're making him. Dan Lambert. There it is.
Oh, him. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't need him. Like, they can put him with someone else that isn't that great on the mic, because Dan Lambert, like, is unlikable, and like the horrible shit that he says, he is great because he gets a reaction. Like,
yeah, that man can go eat gravel.
That's the point. Like, that's what they want you to feel about him, and he's really good at it. I'm sure that he's not like that in real life. Like,
I hope not.
No, I doubt it. I don't think that he is. I think he's just playing a really great character that is just so hateable.
Yeah. Very hateable. I will agree with that.
It's basically that they first brought him in, he was saying like all the shit that Jim Cornette says about AEW and their fans. So basically he's like the personification of Cornette. So Cornette's like that in real life, but I don't think Dan Lambert is.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette.
Ugh. Yeah, I can't stand him.
No.
And like, him and Vince Russo hate each other, and like, I don't know who I'd root for. Like, I'd root for like a meteor.
Right? Mutual destruction. That's what I hope for. God, at least like I can tune out Jim Cornette when he's talking, because how he talks isn't annoying, whereas Vince Russo, bro, is so annoying, bro. Yeah. He did an interview with one of the last interviews that that bastard. He did interviews with China when she was in Japan, and one of them, like, she was definitely drunk or something, and he knew it, and he recorded it and put that out there, and yeah. Yeah. So
nobody in wrestling hates women more than Vince Russo hates women.
There have been so many times, like, some of the things he says where it's just like, you're so close to what's actually going on. When he who was it that committed suicide somewhat recently or died of an overdose? It was a woman who was like not attitude era, a little bit after that, like ruthless aggression era, I think.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think.
And his response was like, "Oh, you need to handle these ladies a little more delicately," and da, da, da. And he was like adjacent to the point, but it's like, dude, you actively participated in the problems that, and he was so close yet so far, so close yet so far.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Like, ugh. He might be worse than Cornette, but not by much. Like he's got him just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's also saying like what's better, like stepping in shit or vomit, but like it's
Vomit comes off easier.
yeah, there you go.
Like that.
Cornette's vomit and Russo's shit. So there you go.
I accept this analogy. I'm just going to write that down. That'll be the name of this episode, by the way.
I'm assuming at this point, for anyone that is listening to us, they know what they're getting into and they shouldn't be offended by our thoughts on Cornette or Russo.
I don't know who would be listening to us and be like, those men are just great. They are thinkers of our time.
You don't even know. Cornette has a huge following, and they're
not listening to us.
No, definitely not. They're all the stand up for WWE guys that like.
Yeah.
That company can do no wrong, and like, that's basically his whole following. The ones that are always like commenting on every single AEW post, shitting on that company. And yeah, at this point, I don't think they're listening to us. Yeah.
The bots.
Cornette it's bots and Cornette listeners.
Yeah. There's a direct correlation.
About the same IQ.
Hey, now AI is fairly intelligent.
That's unfair to AI.
Yeah. Now we're in shit.
Oh well.
Yeah. We just stepped in a little Russo right there.
Call me a bitch all you want. It doesn't bother me.
I think it'd be much worse to call you Jim Cornette.
That's true. That's crossing a line.
Yeah, instead of okay boomer, okay Cornette. That is like the wrestling equivalent.
It really is.
Okay, Cornette, calm down.
That's funny. That's so accurate. That really is like the wrestling equivalent of okay boomer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna start. Nom won't understand that reference. Damn it.
Ryan will.
Yeah. He's gonna be really offended. Dude, that's the best part.
Ryan's Twitch photo is like that one, like just off the wall Cornette photo. Like he used to listen to him and whatnot, but I think that Brian's fallen off the Cornette train in the past like decade.
You mean when Cornette has like thrown himself down the toilet?
Right. I mean, the only thing that I'll give him is he really is a great wrestling historian. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say he knows his stuff.
Yeah, I will listen to him just talk like actual wrestling history, but then as soon as he wants to start giving opinions on modern wrestling, it's like, you're a little out of touch, old man. Like, we're gonna just put you back over here in the 80s.
Like, he's not bad on Dark Side of the Ring because it's all history.
Yeah, he's a great. I will never take that away from him. He's a great wrestling historian.
Which is also why I think he's not as bad as Russo.
Yeah.
He has something to offer the world.
But as far as like his takes on modern wrestling, he's just out of touch with it. Like he doesn't understand what modern wrestling fans enjoy. Like he hates the flippy shit and like hates Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and whatnot. And it's like I like watching that stuff. Like I always liked it even when I was younger.
He does not like you, Megan.
Right? I know.
He doesn't care.
I am probably like the embodiment of the type of wrestling fan that he does not like, to be honest. A woman like likes the flippy shit, likes the smaller guys, yeah, likes when like the lines between real life and like kayfabe are blurred. Yeah, I'm the embodiment of what he hates.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah, he ain't like me either.
Yeah, I don't think he'd like me much either. So, you know.
I mean, could you really see Jim Cornette stumbling into a podcast called Feminism in Pro Wrestling? Doubt it.
I mean, maybe if he wanted to have a coronary, if he was like, I think suicide by heart attack is how I want to go. That might
Hate
be what.
People
Yeah.
hate lots of things.
Yeah, might do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd probably be okay with how much we like War Daddy.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. And how much we've been praising the tribal chief lately. I mean,
It's true. It's true. And that's about where it would end.
I had good things to say about Miro. That probably.
Is Miro really big enough for Cornette?
He's become big enough. Have you seen, like, do you ever look at old, like, WrestleMania, like the WrestleMania when he was in the tank, and it's like, wow, Rusev was, like, chubby. And now you look at him, it's like, holy shit, he's like an action figure. Like,
yeah, his muscles have muscles.
Yeah, he's intimidating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. I watch Lana's TikToks, and specifically because they're hilarious together on TikTok. And she is just like so itty bitty next to him. But at the same time, I think she's a fairly tall woman. At least she seems that way. So maybe that's why I also think that he's not as big as Cornette would like, because he likes big tall men.
I'd say he's got to be a taller guy.
Does he?
I mean, he's 6 feet tall. So
I mean, that's not tall for a wrestler in WWE.
that's apparently how tall Adam Cole was in WWE.
How about Danhausen weighing in at 300 pounds? I died. I was like, uh-huh.
I'm a little bummed that we didn't get to actually see him wrestle. I'm hoping that we do soon, because he was just murdered in the middle of the ring. Like, I mean, I
wonder
called
if he hasn't been fully cleared.
I asked the same
thing elsewhere, though.
I don't think they'd put him in if he wasn't cleared. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it played out like I said it would, but I didn't think like he would be like no offense at all. I thought that he'd at least get some in, but no, he was just it was a execution.
It was like they ran out of time. It was like they ran out of time or something.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, good on Tony Nese at least, but to the other side of the aisle, being WWE, I did get to go to SmackDown in Wilkes-Barre, and my goodness, the crowd was electric. It was great. And also, I found out they have some fun new segments, like when it's at commercial, they do like, instead of a kiss cam, they do a DX cam, where anyone who's doing the like the chops, they go up. Which I wound up on the DX cam, of course, as did the very annoying child that was just screeching the whole time that was behind me. Like, he's maybe 4 or 5 years old. He had to be hoarse by the end of the night, like just screeching. That little boy loved Randy Orton, but not nearly as much as he loved Madcap Moss, which I learned when he started screeching at him, "Are you single?" And I was like, what? But I really appreciated that his dad was very supportive of these very obvious, like, if your 4 or 5-year-old son wants to know if a male wrestler is single and they're not trying to hook up their mom because they want you to be their dad, your kid's probably gay. And dad was completely fine with that. So that was refreshing to see. I was both happy and not happy at the fact that this was the first time I've ever had to wait in line at a women's, or like in a women's room for happened twice in the same event for wrestling. And that's never which it was almost 50-50, I think, for like men and women in attendance, which I'd never seen such an equal draw like that.
So, question.
Mm-hmm.
When the Bloodline first got into the ring, when their music was still playing, it didn't look like the crowd was booing them, but they certainly made it sound like the crowd was somewhat booing them on TV.
So, I mean, there was a pocket of boos, but I would say predominantly it was cheering and people acknowledging, and yeah.
So yeah, they're still crowd sweetening shit. Like,
yeah, for the Bloodline specifically. Everything else, because I went back and I watched, everything else was spot on. Like, we really were that loud. Enough so that Pat McAfee, during his Pat McAfee segment, commented on it. And I guess it's like a minute with Pat or something they call it. It's during the break. And it was Michael Cole's birthday, and he made everyone sing happy birthday to him. And you just see Michael Cole being like, stop it.
that was cute. You sent me the video of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, honestly, like anytime that I have been to like an event there, though, that crowd's always hot. And I think that really plays into that. Northeast is a very big like wrestling area, like Philly, New York, and like we're right in the middle of both. So you probably have a lot of people from New York and Philly on top of the people like around here that are going to the show. The Northeast is first off, it's a very big WWE territory because that's where the WWF, like this was all that territory back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Northeast has always been a wrestling area. Like that's where like wrestling fans are. So it's not too surprising that like it's a really hot crowd here compared to like, I don't know, like Ohio. Like, you know, like where, because like Chicago's like big, like Chicago area, Philly, New York, Boston's another, but that's pretty much like the major ones I can think of off the top of my head. They're like huge.
I mean, those were the major cities around here. And anyway, like it's, even when I was younger and started going to wrestling shows, I went to the Broome County Arena. That was my first wrestling show. Man, like I lost my voice, and I think the rest of the crowd did too. Like, again, just very energetic. I never understand when you go to shows and it's just silent. So weird, so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always really judge those things off of, unfortunately, the women's matches. And there were still, here anyway, like people were still into like Ronda and Raquel. There were people cheering Raquel as well around me. I was one of them. People had to be so confused because sometimes I like heels and faces. So people would be, and I'm very vocal at these things. So there would be people in the ring facing each other, and I'd be cheering everyone.
Both these guys.
Case in point, when Shayna Baszler was in the ring, I was sitting there wearing a Sasha Banks t-shirt, first of all. And Shayna was in the ring, and I screamed, "Let's go, Shayna!" And immediately around me, that started a Sasha Banks chant. And I was like, okay, people, rude.
Yeah, Shayna only knew that her biggest fan was in the crowd that night.
Right? Yeah. She probably heard me because I, screeched. It was much like that child, only nobody else was saying shit. So I was just like, yeah, Shayna! Ah!
I know you messaged me. You're like, if you hear one person screaming for Shayna, that's me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when I went back, I was like, this happened during the commercial break. God damn it.
I'm kind of bummed that I didn't go, like, because when tickets were first announced, I was like, that's when SmackDown was like really shitty. Like, it's been like shitty for a while, and I was like, I can spend my money on other things. Like, I'm just gonna not go. And then the show happened. I'm like, I missed a good show. Like, I would have saw RK Bro, which is another reason I'm like, a lot of the people I liked was on Raw, and I'm like, I don't really feel like going. And then the show opens with RK Bro, and I'm like, if I knew this, like, what, 3 months ago when tickets went on sale, but it was a fun show to watch on TV too.
Yeah, it was a good show overall. So there were 2 dark matches. There was the Los, what are they? I want to say Conquistadors, but clearly that's not it. That's Edge and Christian back in the day. Lazarios? Is that it?
Oh, the Losarios, I think that's how it's pronounced. Like,
yes. I don't speak any language other than English and some sign language, so I apologize, everyone.
Yeah, I said Spanish, sorry.
Yeah, it was them versus the Viking Raiders, which honestly I missed that because I was in line for concessions. And then that was the opening dark match, and the closing one was Lashley versus Corbin. And man, those two were having so much fun. It was a really fun match, and people were going nuts for Bobby Lashley. I mean, we didn't expect to see him because, I mean, he's a Raw guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good. Also, when Bobby Lashley came out, when he was on his little pedestal thing, he looked exactly like an Oscar. Like, if you had dropped some gold on him, he would, like, perfectly like an Oscar. I think I have a photo of it where you're just expecting someone to come and, like, grab him and be like, I'd like to thank the Academy.
Oh my God, he does look like that. Thinking of, like, back to last night on Raw.
Yeah, like, honestly, he looks exactly like an Oscar. I think a time traveler came to a WWE event, saw it, and then traveled back in time
He made
and
the
made the Oscars in his image.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. I also, it's funny because, like, I forget how big some people are. Like Baron Corbin, I forgot how tall he is. Like, he's a very large man.
I like Baron Corbin. Brian, I told you, Brian and I have that joke where we always say we are a Baron Corbin household. Like, we've always enjoyed him. Even, like, ever since he was... You froze. Are you back?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're big Baron Corbin fans too. Like, you just love to hate him.
Mm.
And it's one of those things where I didn't realize how much I liked him until he was off TV. And I was like, oh, the show's really, like, lacking Baron Corbin. It was one of those.
He's, like, solid in the ring too.
Mm-hmm.
I love that move he does where, like, around the corner of the ring, like, outside of it and back into it. I always love that move.
Yeah. I kind of feel like in his head he's like,
Whee!
And then the other fun thing that I got to see is before Riddle's match at the beginning of the show, when they went to commercial, like, Randy Orton is just having such a good time. He was, like, standing there giving Riddle a back massage and, like, talking to the audience. He's like, yeah, yeah. Randy Orton was so entertaining to watch during that match, to the point where I didn't know where to look. Like, what, Randy, or, like, do I watch Riddle? Like, what am I? There's so much going on. He's
just, I know we keep mentioning it, but it's so clear that he is having more fun now than he's had in years, and he's great to watch right now. I love RK Bro. I'm gonna be heartbroken when it breaks up. It's just gonna be so sad.
Yeah, it really is. Also, you don't really, like, you can tell that Riddle's sparkly on TV, but you can't tell how sparkly he is until you're in person. I was just like, ooh, they dipped him in glitter.
Disco ball.
Yeah, which also brings out how tiny his ass is.
I know, he must be the tiniest ass I've ever seen.
Yeah. So it started off with like, I was like, oh, wow, you can really tell like how defined his legs are. Like he has really muscular legs, much like hot dog legs over there. And Randy Orton. And then I was like, oh my God, he has no butt. No butt at all.
I mean, it happens. I'm also part of the back to thighs club, so.
Yes. Well, I have not checked out your booty. I won't lie there.
Yeah, I can't really make fun of the man because I am part of that club. So
Or does that give you all the reason to make fun of?
I empathize. I'm with you, brother.
Bro.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all the stuff I have to say about the live show. Oh, that screaming little kid also loved Butch. Oh, I was so upset. So upset. I was maybe 20 feet away. He came up the wrong aisle. If he'd come up the other one, like, I would have been so close. I would have been so close to Pete Dunne.
Butch. Cool.
Well, the other thing was behind me, I hear these guys, like casual fans were definitely there, and they were sitting right behind me. Not the little kid and his family that were going bananas. The other family with the mad dad. Like this dad was yelling at his kids about how they weren't getting their Switch for a month, and if they touched it before, then they weren't getting it for a year. And I was just like, okay, sir, your kids really aren't misbehaving unless they're like doing something I can't see. But I was like, see the shrieking ghost behind me on the other side? Like, what? So he's just like, who is this guy in the ring? Talking about Pete Dunne. And halfway through the match, he's like, is that Pete Dunne?
No, sir, that's Butch.
Yeah, I wanted, if it wasn't for the fact that I did not want to engage with this grumpy goat, I definitely would have been like, yes, sir, it is. But yeah, I wanted nothing to do with that man.
Aww. I always seem to get stuck around the people that, like, the only people that aren't engaging when I go to a live event around here, except for the time that we got floor seats. That SmackDown during Kofi Mania, where Samoa Joe won the U.S. title in that 4-way match. Mm-hmm. That was like the only time. I think it's because I have floor seats, and yeah. People that are paying for floor seats are definitely going to be more engaged than when I used to like usually get like the cheap seats. But yeah, every other time except for that time, I happened to be around the people that were just there like eating popcorn the whole time. Like,
I always get like, so we usually get decent seats, and there's always a shrieking child, like right here, right here, each time. And except for the one time that there wasn't, and instead, it was at the Elimination Chamber match down in Philly right before COVID started, like 3 days before it was like lockdown, everyone. There was like this row of 4 girls, women, I guess. And they clearly wanted to be like influencers, I would say. That's the vibe I got as they sat there eating their pizza and video recording themselves and taking pictures while this match is going on. Like it wasn't during, and I was just like, I hate you. I hope you choke.
We didn't have a bad like people around us when we went to Money in the Bank 2013 when Orton won it. When Paul Heyman almost killed CM Punk with the ladder when he was like gashed open and turned on him for Curtis Axel. Our seats were up in the upper section, but we were legitimately right over the ring. So we were like eye level with the briefcase. So yeah, they were awesome seats. They were really good. And like people around us, like that was a fun crowd. But I think like the most fun crowd that I've had at a live event, honestly, was the AEW show, the third Dynamite. Like, I don't know if it's because it was so new and everybody was so pumped up and like it was the first title defense match. It was Jericho and Darby was challenging him for the belt. So it was the first time that the AEW championship was being defended. It was when like Kenny and Mox were having their crazy feud where Kenny had the broom with the barbed wire around it, and like that crowd was a lot of fun. And then the crowd on the floor when we went to that SmackDown, especially weirdly enough during when they taped 205 Live. I don't know why, but like everyone just decided it's like it was like a unspoken thing that we're like, people shit on 205 Live all the time. We're gonna really cheer for these guys. Mm-hmm. And I remember checking Twitter after, and like people that were fans of 205 Live kept saying that they had to have it in Wilkes-Barre every week because that was the best crowd that 205 Live ever had. And they were like adding Triple H, saying like if 205 Live ever has a pay-per-view, you have to have it there because that crowd deserves it. I remember Brian specifically. It was when Humberto Carrillo was still on 205 Live, mm-hmm. and Brian's are screaming Humberto like every time he was doing a move, and like Tozawa was still on it at that point, and like it was they were good matches, and we like made it a point to make these guys know that they were appreciated for what they did, and we were and maybe like 5% of the crowd stayed. Like most people cleared out. So like everyone who stayed like moved down, and like we were just like it was just such a cool experience. That was one of the most fun times I ever had, and it was 205 Live.
So when 205 Live first happened, I loved it. Like, but unfortunately, like most things, when everyone stopped being so invested, like it's so hard when the crowd's not into it oh yeah. I mean, we just came out of the pandemic era, so obviously everyone's very familiar with that. But yeah. I think so with crowd reactions, I think it might have been that same Money in the Bank. It was definitely a pay-per-view down in Philly, and I just remember when Kane's entrance music hit and like the fire happened. So the fire, and then a woman 2 rows down from me, like directly in front of me, got scared so badly. She went, ah! And she had a full cup of beer. Wow. And I watched it go up and directly on the person behind her. Like I got splashed a little, but like just bam.
Oh my God.
And those beers are expensive, so like no one was happy in that situation.
Yeah, I would have cried.
Yeah, it's like, well, there goes my $10, $12 beer.
Yeah, there's a $25 investment for 1 cup of beer.
Yeah, it's like, oh God. And I think it might have been. It was a Royal Rumble, I think I was at, or maybe it was some other pay-per-view somewhat recently, before, in the last 3 years, basically. And Matt Hardy was wrestling. I nearly got hit by him, like in his car. It was my fault. I wasn't paying attention to where I was going, and like nearly hit me with his car. And I look up, and I was gonna be like, what the hell? And I look, and I see Matt Hardy there, and I was just like, this is my fault. I'm sorry, sir.
I'm okay with this. This is how I go. This is how I go.
Which literally, as soon as I saw this, I was like, I'm so sorry. So sorry. And I walk away.
Oh, bad. Sorry, sir. Sorry. Don't delete me. Don't delete me.
Don't delete. And then Liv Morgan was there, but she didn't wrestle. But when she was waiting to get out of the parking lot, fans were lined up where I was lined up, and people were just yeeting shit into her car for her to sign. And she was doing it like someone threw their title belt into her car.
Those are heavy.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this poor woman. But like, she was so sweet, just like signing everything, because she was stuck in traffic. Like, someone threw her their phone. I was like, can you take a picture of yourself? I was like, you know, a lot of balls. You got a lot of balls. Philly.
Yeah, that's like when just BT yesterday when they were showing Matt and Nick after like hours of travel and they got to whatever hotel it was at 1 a.m. and Brandon Cutler was with them and he's like, and look, and there was like a bunch of people that they had 30 of their action figures that they wanted these guys to sign at 1 in the morning after they traveled from the West Coast to the East Coast. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, yeah, you know if they're going to be staying there. You know they're having a show, but like they're human beings. They just spent the whole day traveling literally across the country. They must have jet lag from the time zone change. Leave them alone. Like, you want them to sign shit so badly, go to a signing. Like,
Yeah.
don't accost wrestlers in hotels after shows or before shows or during travel days or in airports. Like, would you want that happening to you? Like,
right. Like, it's very different if like you bump into someone, but like specifically like sitting there and waiting, like I know just from, you know, being a wrestling fan for so long and where people have encountered them in this area, where they do like to go, but I don't go there like after shows or anything. Let these people be.
no, I'm not going to camp out at the casino because I know that they're probably staying there before or after the show. I mean, you know that they stay at Mohegan Sun or right along end it there. So obviously that's where they stay before they like that they have a show at the Mohegan Sun Arena. If I happened to just be at the casino and was gambling and walking around the floor playing slots and saw like, I don't know, like Liv Morgan, for example, because you just mentioned her. If I happen to see her like 2 slots next to me, I'd probably say, oh, hi, like I'm a fan. Could I get a picture? Like, do you mind if I get a picture? I wouldn't say, can I have one? Like, is it okay? I would ask. I wouldn't like camp out like some people at like the front door, like, oh, they're going to be back soon. Like,
or those psychos who like interrupt them in bathrooms, and shit like that. Like, oh my God, I would, and it's happened to me I mean, I was at a signing, but it was Gail Kim. Like, I was using the bathroom at the same time as Gail Kim, and I wasn't a freak about it. You know what I did? I just like made eye contact and we went, and continued about it. And now I have the story about how I used the bathroom at the same time as Gail Kim. That is how it goes. Like, I did not need to accost that woman.
no, I mean, if I was using a bathroom and I happen to run into like another women's wrestler, I'd probably just be like, hi, like at least say hello, wash my hands, and leave. But I wouldn't be like, I'm a picture. Or like, well, hi, Sophie. Like,
Right.
it's just rude. Like, they're human beings. Yeah, they're celebrities. Yeah, they're on TV, but that doesn't mean you don't treat them like a human. Like,
I'm not going to lie. If it's someone who had amazing makeup, I would just definitely be like, I love all you do with your face. Something real creepy, gotta go.
I love your face. Give it to me.
I love your face.
Maybe like if you ran into like Ruby Riot. Or
yeah.
Ruby Soho, sorry.
Yes, yeah. Which, again, if I was going to have an actual gravestone, I would have it etched on there that she complimented my makeup one time.
I mean, yeah.
I will tell everyone that story.
I think didn't you message me when it happened? Like,
oh, yeah.
I don't even think we were podcasting yet.
No, and then like a weirdo. I don't know if I told you this, but I was like so ecstatic she said that.
Oh no.
What fell out of my mouth was like, thank you, I'm gonna go update my resume. And I just saw her face like, what?
Whoops.
Oh, thankfully, after me was her number one fan who was like a 4-year-old girl who was just so excited to meet her. Like, to the point where when we were in line, I offered to like, I was like, do you guys want to go ahead of us? Like, to her parents, and they were like, she can wait. Like, it's fine.
I would have like made them go ahead because I'd want to witness that.
That's what it was. I wanted to witness it. That's why I offered. I'm not that much of a nice person. I want to see.
That's funny. I like when wrestlers are like sweet to the kids, like children fans. I remember like how much that meant to me when I met a bunch of them when I was little. Like,
yeah, And that's another thing that you see during the breaks are like the wrestlers interacting with the kids, and I mean other people around the ring too, but especially the kids.
That's what made me like Braun Strowman for a little while, because we went to a house show. I think it was 2019, so I don't think it was right before the pandemic, but it wasn't like too long before it. I got tickets for Brian for Christmas one year, and I got decent seats. Like they weren't floor seats, but they were like they were the first row on that first level, so they were decent. And like a house show, they weren't that expensive. That's why I got good seats. And like house shows are a totally different animal than a live event or like a televised event.
Mm-hmm.
Their guards let down a little bit more. Like the heels aren't as heelish, and they like interact with the crowd more. And I remember Braun Strowman went around and took selfies with like almost everybody that was in like the first and second rows, and like stopping with kids. And I was like, wow, he's a really cool dude for doing that. Like nobody else did that. Like people went around and a couple selfies and like talked to people, but I watched him. He stopped at almost every single fan that was around that ring and took pictures and signed shit and like shook kids' hands. And that made me like him when I was like not a fan before that.
Yeah. Dolph Ziggler is someone that at a house show, it was when he was Intercontinental Champion. It was him and Miz, and I had floor seats. Not like good floor seats. I was like in the middle. But yeah, I just remember Dolph Ziggler took and he signed anything anybody wanted. Like he was just going around signing. Because as soon as he started doing that, of course, you see like a whole bunch of people like rush up. So I just see like phew, 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 people going by. But yeah, house shows are a completely different animal. For house shows, I think you're better off like paying the money to get closer. I mean, at any point, obviously you're good, but because there's so much more interaction, the closer you can get to them, I think the better.
Yeah, definitely. Because like there's nothing at stake. They're just basically practicing for like a pay-per-view match pretty much. Like whatever's coming up on the next pay-per-view, that's probably who you're going to see at a house show is like those two people because they're practicing for those matches. Or like a big Raw main event maybe, like they'll be practicing for that. But like Miz was hilarious at the house show that we went to because it was during that point where he was doing when my hand goes up, your mouth goes like shut. So he was in the ring and he had the mic and he was going, when my hand goes up, and everybody was yelling back, like, your mouth goes shut. And he's like, you don't say that, I say that. And he's like, no, shut up. And he's just saying it again. And then the crowd's yelling it back to him. He's like, you don't say that. That's my thing to say. And he was like back and forth with the crowd for like 5 minutes. And like he even started laughing because like the more he was telling the crowd not to say it, like of course the louder the crowd was yelling it. And I just remember him laughing, and like Miz was like full blown heel at that point. And first seeing like him like goofing around with the crowd too, like if you've never been to a house show before, it's definitely worth experiencing at least once because it's so laid back and fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. And it's something where it's just like you don't have to be on the camera side.
Yeah, because there is no camera side. Like
you're
they
good.
still do record it. I noticed that there's still cameras, but I think that's more for so we could see it because like you still for the people that are in like higher seats, it's still on like the Tron and it's still on those like little screens that are above the ring. But yeah, there's no traditional camera side.
Yeah, and I think it might also be since they're trying out new things to see how it looks on camera. Yeah, but to Monday Night Raw we go. So
it was a good show.
It was a very good show. Alexa Bliss had a good match. I like her whole new look. I'm always an Alexa fan, so there's no surprise in that. But like I like her gear.
It's like a cross between like the creepy thing and like her goddess thing. It's like they merged them.
Yeah, and I think for it to make sense, you couldn't completely abandon like the creepy side. So like they are having her bring the doll with her. They're having, but they got rid of, like, her makeup is different now. She still has the buns, but it's the buns with long hair, so it's a cross between. And she changed up her gear again, and she's just really good at doing characters and making it seem pretty seamless.
I don't like her new entrance theme.
I can't hear it so much, like the words.
I didn't like it. I like her goddess theme.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that they just revert it back to that, because I think that fit her really well. I don't know, maybe this new one will grow on me, but I wasn't an immediate fan of it. It's not my favorite out of her entrance themes that she's had. Like, I think I'd put this third, honestly. Like, I would do like the goddess one, the fiendish character after, and then this and that. I don't know. Maybe I'll like it eventually, but right now it's not really hitting my ear holes right.
I was trying to tell who did the vocals. I was like, is this Hailstorm? But I don't think it is.
No, we think it's Paramore. That's what Brian and I were wondering, because we're wondering if like her husband's friends with them.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. There's a good chance. Just go back and look through those wedding photos. I mean, in general, it was a good show, specifically for the women. Like, there were a lot of women's segments. I mean, Lacey Evans came out and did a live promo instead of a recorded one. It was very much so a baby face promo.
Yeah. Very paint by numbers baby face, which makes me think the turn is coming. Like, it's coming. Even the crowd was kind of like not really, and it seemed like the crowd kept waiting for the like, okay, what's gonna happen? Like, they weren't really into it, except for when she was like applauding service people, which obviously people are gonna do that. Like, no one's gonna not applaud for that. But
at least in this country.
Yeah, and then those tacky USA chants start that literally like give me secondhand embarrassment every time a crowd starts that. I get that, like that's a whole other okay, but like I
just hate when they do it when there's like a foreign person, and ugh.
I hate when they do it when it's a foreign, like, okay, I hate when they do it when it's like a obviously foreign person, like with an accent, like French or Russian or like any other like country that like clearly has an accent, and then there's like a Canadian that sound like the most that you could tell that they're Canadian is when they say sorry. Like, and then you hear them start saying like USA, and it's like, dude, that is a Canadian. Like, that is not from, like, say like Kevin Owens is in the ring with like Veer.
Yeah.
Or like USA, and it's like, oh God, stop, please.
It's like, he might live here now, maybe, but yeah.
Like, if there's a Canadian you want to chant USA at, like, do it to Jericho. At least he was born in New York.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, I think he's lived most of his life in the U.S.
Yeah, probably. He was
been in Florida for so long.
Yeah, I mean, probably since when, like WCW days, I would assume.
I think so. Like, definitely, I think his kids' entire lives, and his kids are maybe in their 20s now, and I think the twins are 19, 20, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Maybe. They definitely just graduated from somewhere somewhat recently. So
they're between like 19 and 24, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, enough that it's just like, I'm sure Chris Jericho feels a little old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate when they have the USA chants, unless it's for like service members. Like, if they were in general to chant that at Lacey Evans, like as she came out or something, if people just start kind of like, or Kurt Angle or something, I'm fine with USA chants for that, I think.
I don't like them. You're not here in New Japan show and they start just chanting like Japan. You don't go to a show in the UK and they're like Union Jack, like, you don't. hear that anywhere else. It's so like obnoxiously aggressively American and like so stereotypical of how most people view us. And I think that's why I get the secondhand embarrassment, because I hate when we're stereotypical. Like, I hate
Lewis
it.
Black actually put it the best. He said, like, with how America acts to the rest of the world, if there was some guy in your office who came in every day and was like, I'm the best motherfucker here, get it. He's like, you would kill him and drink his blood to absorb his power. That's America. And I was like, yes, that is what we do.
I mean, basically, like, I like the analogy of, you know, how all of America views Florida. That is how the rest of the world views America. We are the world's Florida.
You're Florida man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there's this guy that I watch on TikTok who is a British guy, and he recently learned about Florida man, because he'll be like, tell me things I should check out that are American. And like he'll order things and stuff and try them. And someone's like, Florida man. He's like, okay. And he's like, what the hell? He's like, why is that man wrestling an alligator? Why is this happening? What is going on? And everyone's just like, it's Florida. It didn't used to be like that.
I think the reason that Florida seems so like wild is because they have different laws where like anything that's reported to the police can be printed in the media, and a lot of other states don't have that. So like anything weird that happens, like they can write about it in the newspaper, and that's why they seem more. I don't think that they're any more insane than any other state, but
So you do know about that island, one of the islands around Florida, part of Florida, that they were using for a movie or something. They were shooting something there, and they had all these monkeys that they brought in. And then they were just going to leave the monkeys there to die, and not realizing the monkeys could swim. And the monkeys are now an invasive species who, if they bite humans, humans will get sick and die. Like very sick and die. The snake population is very similar. Also, when it gets really cold in Florida, the lizards or whatever they are fall out of the trees dead. So the wildlife and the things that mostly things that people have brought into Florida, that is uniquely Florida.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, my mother lived in Florida for a while. She worked there back when her and my dad were dating. She there about a year or so. And she was telling me how, like, you know, our roadkill, like you'll see a deer or like a trash panda, a raccoon, or like a squirrel, you know, like your typical woodland creatures. And she was telling me about like the wild shit you'd see on the road there, like armadillo and like iguanas and like weird stuff, and like that is crazy.
Yeah, like they have to have special stuff sprayed around their houses, like that repels snakes, because they'll get up into like cars and shit like that. Like, no, thank you. I've had one of my favorite is one of my friends lives in Florida, and he works for the news there. So even if they don't print, they choose not to air this stuff, I get a text about it. So it's like, guess what happened today?
Oh boy.
Because also I was in so I introduced my friends that got married, and I was in their wedding, and it was down in Florida where they live. And as the wedding was ending, all of a sudden this helicopter flies over with a police spotlight. Police officers with dogs come in, and they're like, have you seen the man that escaped? We're like, what? A man had apparently escaped a local prison and was running around in that area. And they were like, oh, he's a violent criminal. Oh. And I was like, great. Florida. Yep.
Fun.
I've been to lots of weddings in Pennsylvania, in New York, Connecticut, Virginia, New Jersey. No one, absolutely no one has escaped from prison and run through the wedding. Never once have they shown up.
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah. Yes. So I would say that while, yes, they can print whatever they want in their news, they're still a slightly different breed.
I mean, have you seen some stuff that happens in this area, though? We're not too far off from Florida, man. Like,
I mean, it usually doesn't involve alligators.
no, that it doesn't. But I mean, there could be a sheep. You never know. Like, Knoxon exists.
True. I mean, I did have that bear in my driveway that was just watching me play with my dog. So,
yeah, that'll happen.
what the hell were we talking about?
We were talking about the aggressively USA chanting crowd for Lacey, but I think what we were really trying to get at before we got sidetracked with that was how her inevitable heel turn, like how like this was so paint by numbers, baby face that it didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just, I don't know, some of that promo fell off, and I think we were pretty much done with her, and we got off on our USA tangent.
Yeah, that very much so what it was. And then of course, continuing on with the good segments of women last night was Liv Morgan, and I liked her little clueless look she had going on, like from the movie Clueless, not like I'm so clueless.
No, I know what you meant.
But her coming out, going nuts at ringside with Finn and AJ, and then getting to do the too sweet. She just looked so happy.
My God, I loved it. Like, it honestly gave me like warm heart feelings. Like when she was at the top of that is exactly why I messaged you to ask you if you were watching Raw yet, for that exact moment when she came out and was waiting for Balor to come out after her. And I'm like, oh my God, is Sabrina watching because this is adorable. Mm-hmm. She looked, I mean, she's younger, right? Like she's got to be younger. And those two are what, 40 and 4, I think AJ's like 42. So if she's been a wrestling fan, she's probably seen them wrestling for a long time. So probably a fan before a friend. And like Balor's the first
27.
Okay, so yeah, she's younger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's 10 years younger than me, so that's young to me. I mean, Balor was the creator of the Bullet Club. AJ was the second leader of it. Like, they're pretty big deals in the world of wrestling. And
I mean, AJ Styles has been argued for a long time that for a while, that he was the best in the world. And I mean, he's certainly within the top 5 still.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. He could still go. His phenomenal forearm is flawless looking every time. And I don't know how he does it. Like, it never looks off. He looks like Superman every time.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the hair.
Yeah, it might be.
But like majestically waving.
Like her at the top of the ring, like genuine happiness on her face when she was waiting for them to come out. And how sweet was AJ with her? Like, he was like big brother vibes, and I just I love all of it. I love them together, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of where they're going. I was so nervous, and I think everyone thought that there was, because people had wanted Liv to go with Rhea over to, I don't think they're doing that, but they made sure to kind of tease that, right, with the segment where they had also Rhea Ripley in that suit.
Good, awesome.
Yeah, they all just looked great. Enough so that my friend M messaged me. She watches it a day after on Hulu, and she was just like, I just got done watching it. Oh my God, Rhea Ripley in that suit, living for it.
Yeah, that was straight fire.
And she was like, can we also talk about Damian Priest? I was like, oh yes, we can. It's like, join me on the island of Damian Priest love. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your boy. I know that.
Like, we can always talk about Damian Priest. Yes. But yeah, that whole promo that they did, and I'm glad that there was a reason for that stupid ring that Edge was wearing, the skull one. I was just like, wow, he has sausage fingers was all I could think at first. I'm like, how did they jam that thing on there? And I don't think he actually has sausage fingers. I think it's just one, the angle, and two, that ring was just not good on his hand.
Yeah.
And then I do like that he's like putting something on to like tip the scales. Like I like that they're actually using that prop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Libra too, so anytime you get a little scale on the arm, I'm just like, yes.
I am not. I am a Capricorn.
No. I know nothing about anything else other than Libra stuff. No, Aquarius is a water sign. I got that.
I'm an Earth sign.
I don't know what I am.
I remember that back from when I thought I was like a witch after seeing The Craft in '97 in 7th grade. And there used to be this store, what the hell is it called?
The goddess
shop?
The goddess shop?
No, I don't even know if you do remember this because it closed, like, I was going to it in middle school and it was closed by high school. So it wasn't open that long, but it was in Southside and it was like a Wiccan shop. And what the hell was the name of this? I don't know. I used to be in there a lot though, because every girl that saw The Craft thought that they were going to be a witch. So I used to buy. I didn't watch that. Sorry. I didn't watch anything on the WB. Like I was not a.
Oh, that's right. You didn't watch Buffy.
I did. I watched the real Buffy.
I edit my memory, so I never remember you saying that. It's too traumatic for me to take in.
I never liked any WB shows. I couldn't do it. Like I didn't watch Gilmore Girls. I didn't watch Buffy. I didn't watch any of that.
Freak.
No, I didn't watch Dawson's Creek. But yeah, I used to go to that store a lot and buy like candles and tarot cards and like books on witchcraft and whatnot. So yeah, I knew like everything about my sign, and something to do with like Saturn had to do with me, and moon sign. Like I used to know all that shit, and that has left my memory after like 20 some years.
Yeah. I know I'm a double Libra, but I don't know what that means. I just know Nom's mom's and all of that stuff. And the first time I met her, she told me I was a double Libra. I don't know what it means. I just went, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't really buy into all that stuff now. Like everybody talking about Mercury and Gatorade right now. Like it's like
Gatorade?
No,
in retrograde, yeah. Right? Yeah.
I
thought people just say that to be shitty.
What?
Mercury's in retrograde, so I'm acting like an asshole.
And in work today, in one of our like group chats, someone was like, Mercury's definitely in retrograde because every email's been off the wall today. And I'm like, well, I can't lie and say that people weren't like, customers have been wilding the past couple of days, but I don't think it's because like
moon. And the full moon thing, I kind of can buy into because the moon affects the water and our bodies are so much water. So maybe there's something there.
Yeah, that I can grasp because that does have some kind of science behind it. But I don't care what any other planet's doing. I don't think that affects human beings whatsoever. But
the sun, and that's not a planet, so
no, that just keeps us alive, and that's a star. But yeah, I don't even remember because we were talking about edges.
Oh yes, the balancing. Yes. I'm still very excited to see where everything with the Judgment Day is going. Especially now that there's this like Bullet-esque club forming.
Yeah, I liked when the Too Sweet happened because you didn't really have a lot of girls who got to do that. Like, because New Japan doesn't have women wrestlers. There's like the Stardom that's like an offshoot of it. But yeah, exciting to see, even if it's Bullet Club adjacent, a women's wrestler that is involved with it. There's some form of Bullet Club in every company right now. That's just crazy to think of. Like,
yeah. I mean, a lot of the wrestlers that were in Bullet Club have become like big deals.
But not only that, like actively doing like Too Sweet and Bullet Clubby stuff, like Ring of Honor, AEW, WWE, Impact, and obviously New Japan. Like all of it has.
Weird if New Japan wasn't.
Yeah.
It's like, we're killing this. We're done.
I'm surprised that they haven't yet. It sells too much merch.
I was just gonna say money.
That sells way too much merch.
Mm-hmm. Capitalism isn't just an American thing.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
Oh, the match itself between that match was incredible.
It was really, really good. Everyone was amazing in that match.
I paid attention through the whole thing, and I have a very bad habit. I am definitely one of those people that as soon as my like attention, like I'm kind of bored with something, I'm immediately
Yep. I'm like,
immediately scrolling through something or texting somebody or playing a game on my phone. Like I am a very bad I pick up my phone person, and I had my phone and I was scrolling through whatever and happened to just look up and caught the match, and I was like, and I started watching, and I was that was that whole thing, and then like after with Kevin Owens and like this Ezekiel thing, that was like my favorite block of the whole night.
The DNA is in from the lab. Oh, the DNA lab, the lab.
Oh, it was so funny, and how it was contaminated with barbecue sauce, and obviously it's Otis.
Yeah. Oh, that was just all. I mean, it's just so good. It's all so good.
It had no right to be as good as this is. Like, this had no right to be this good.
I guess so. WWE is putting out like little things too about like Elias and Ezekiel, and Elias taking Ezekiel to his first WWE wrestling event when he was a kid, and yep.
I just can't wait to see the payoff. Like I don't want it to end because it's so funny, but then I cannot wait to see how it ends at the same time, because obviously, like, it's going to be revealed that that's been Elias the whole time. I mean, that's good. Yeah, I think so.
What are you going to do when Elias comes out, though?
How about that picture? That picture was so funny. And apparently that was, like, actually really him, but with the country star Brian was telling me. He said he couldn't remember which one it was, but he knew it was one that he's heard the name of before. So he thinks it was either, who do you think? Either Keith Urban or somebody, another country. I don't know. He named a couple of them. He's like, one of those, because I at least know their names. So
he just edited his face on.
Yeah, I guess the picture was real. They just put like Elias's old face on like whatever country music person it was. that was, and like Kevin Owens is just, him and Gable are carrying this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Like the Richard Nixon. Thank you. Like all the way up.
The backstage segment when he was leaving, backing up, just going, "Thank you, thank you." So good.
As he was doing all that, I was like, "Are you sure you're not really Kurt Angle's son?"
Right.
Like
it's working. I mean, it is like it is very reminiscent of Kurt Angle, but it's his own thing.
Yeah, it's so good, so good. The other thing that I loved was Cody's promo. The beginning when he started talking, like the cadence at which he spoke and a little bit of how his voice sounded reminded me so much of Dusty. And it was just, I love shit like that. And I enjoy Cody's promos in general. He's such a well-spoken human being. Even not even just his promos, when he talks in interviews or when he's talking on the Go Big show. I just really enjoy. He's someone that when he talks, you listen. And then like Seth and is like, I'm really looking forward to seeing a Hell in the Cell match between those two. Like that is going to be like that should be the last match of the night, because how are you gonna follow it up? How are you gonna do it?
I think it is the main event.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think because there's no title match.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I can't wait to see a Hell in the Cell. I'm just confused, like, why is it? Because usually a Hell in the Cell is like the end of very violent rivalry that's been going on for a long time, and this one's kind of new. But
well, I mean, not if you look back over their careers. Like, Cody was talking about that a little bit in. I mean, it's not the first time he's worked with Seth Rollins. He worked with them when they were the Shield.
Right. I just mean like a Hell in a Cell usually is because like people had interfered in other matches, and you know, like, I mean, I'm not mad that it's happening. Just like storyline wise, it doesn't really make sense that it's ending in a Hell in a Cell, but I don't care because it's probably going to be a good match anyway. Like,
maybe it's getting back to how it was, because I mean, Undertaker didn't, when they first started doing Hell in a Cell matches, it wasn't because people were interfering. It was just because it was the Undertaker, and Cell rhymes with hell. I'm pretty sure is how that came about.
I also don't like that it is a whole pay-per-view. Like, I'd much rather that it's just, okay, we're ending this blood feud with a Hell in a Cell at, like, whatever show.
Armageddon.
Like,
that was one of the first ones I saw was at an Armageddon.
I just don't like it's nothing against this match. It's just the idea of that they, like, have, like, you have to have a Hell in a Cell match because there is a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I much would rather go back to when it was like, okay, we're having this match to finally end this feud. Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. I don't like the TLC, like when they would do TLC pay-per-views. Extreme Rules, same thing, especially because wasn't there one Extreme Rules where there were no Extreme Rules matches?
Yeah, that was only a couple years ago, I think. I think it was like right before pandemic, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. Like the Elimination Chamber one, you can get, because it's such a massive thing. Like that's fine.
That's like another gimmicky thing, like Money in the Bank or Royal Rumble. Like that makes sense, but those ones, like, if you're gonna have a tables match, have a tables match because you've been putting each other through tables for a while. So we're gonna end it like this. If you're gonna have a Hell in the Cell, just have a Hell in the Cell match because you're ending a really intense feud that's been going on. If you're gonna have a Extreme Rules match, have the match because you've been using foreign objects on the other person for a while. Like that stuff makes sense. But like building pay-per-views around that, like those gimmicks, it dilutes it.
I agree. Yeah, so I think that's going to be amazing. I also loved what Seth Rollins was like, what we would see of what Seth Rollins was wearing. It reminded me of the Hardys in the early days. Like a grown-up Hardys, if that makes sense, because it was a suit jacket instead of like a torn-up T-shirt over it.
Hardys went to college.
Hardys went to college. That's what Seth Rollins was rocking. They went to business school, and this is what they wear now. This is Jeff Hardy with his MBA. Those were the vibes Rollins was giving out. Yeah, it's going to be amazing, and there's no more goddamn red light, so perfect.
Yeah, just as long as they don't end a no DQ Hell in the Cell match with a DQ this time, I'm fine.
Right? Oh, there's gonna be a murder. We better stop it. It's
Big
like we almost saw McFoley die several times. Like
big mallets are okay, just don't get a little hammer.
Yeah. Well, funny thing is, it would be better to be hit with a mallet than it would be to be hit with a hammer in real life. So, as someone who trains people about traumatic brain injuries, you want to be hit with the mallet.
I guess fair.
Yeah. But anyway, yes. And then there was that women's segment for the 24/7 championship.
It brought Truth and Carmella back for a second, which I enjoyed. Like,
yes, that was the only good part.
I always like, and it seems that she's going to be trying to help him get the title back again at the right moment, as she said. So I'd like to see more interactions between them. They had good chemistry together.
Oh yeah, fantastic. And God, I know we're coming like to a point where R-Truth is going to retire some point soon, but I just don't want that to happen ever.
I know. You know what I was saying last night is like, I have never seen anyone more ageless than R-Truth in my life. You look back at like video clips from, God, like 20-ish years ago now.
I mean, he was wrestling in the Attitude Era, technically.
He hasn't changed. He does not like
changes. That's it.
He looks exactly the same. He's got that like Paul Rudd gene, and he doesn't age.
Yeah, does not age one bit. Yeah, except he gets funnier.
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
Yeah, I love Truth, and he's like, people might say like, oh, he's like wasted in the 24/7 division, but honestly, this dude's at the end of his career and how like getting paid and having fun. Just like, he's got to be having a blast with this shit. Like,
oh yeah. I also think it's hilarious that in real life, R-Truth is horribly afraid of cats.
No.
Horribly afraid of cats.
He must have had a bad experience with one when he was younger.
Yeah, I forget the exact story, but yeah, he did.
Oh, sad.
It is. I'm sure it was somewhat staged for Total Divas, but they made him interact with one of Natty's cats. And by that I mean it ran out of a room and he jumped up onto her kitchen table, so our counter. So yeah.
There's a difference between like people who just flat out don't like cats. Like those people I don't trust. But if you're afraid of one because you had a bad experience when you were like young or something, that's understandable. Because I'm afraid of big dogs for the same reason. I had a bad experience with a big dog when I was 5, and I'm very uneasy around them at first.
Yeah.
So I don't think Truth is a bad person for being afraid of cats. If you just flat out didn't like them, then I'd be like,
This does not compute with everything else I know about you.
Right.
Yeah. And then the final women's segment of the evening, Becky and Asuka did put on a good match for having to pull something out of their asses. Also, I just want to say how fantastic they both like physically looked. Like Asuka, I think, is doing something slightly different with what she's doing with her makeup, like the green. I don't know, or she has a new skincare regimen or something. Because I was looking at her backstage and I was just like, her skin is beautiful. She is like glowing. What is this?
I think she had a kid. I honest to God think that's why she was gone, because she definitely does have a very like, her and Becky have a similar glow to them. Like, I guess like it might be a new mommy glow. Like,
maybe.
And they made a point of saying that Asuka was gone for 9 months, and I feel like they used 9 months to kind of hint at that she had a child.
I mean, if she had a kid, she would have been gone for more than 9 months, though.
I feel like she was gone longer than that. Like, it seems like she was.
It felt so long in my heart.
It really does. It feels like it's been a lot long. Like, it feels like she's been gone for like a year. Like,
yeah.
I didn't notice. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention or what, but the Adam Pearce and Becky interaction.
It was at the like very, very beginning, like the opening.
We were taking garbage out and stuff. I might have missed it.
Yeah. So what initially caught my attention was actually Becky's makeup and how great it was. I was like, this look is really working for her. Oh, was there what is this with Sasha and Naomi leaving? Like, strange. Are they doing a heel turn? Because like I just didn't have more of the. I was only half listening because again I was really focused on like just how great she looked. But yeah, and then it being just Asuka and Becky Lynch instead of a 4-way match. which was weird. But I mean, they did a great job. I love when she does the green mist, but she only did it because Asuka only did the green mist because Becky was going to be naughty and cheat first. And she beat her at her own game.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, Asuka and Bianca will have a great match too.
Well,
right? No, are they the ones that everyone thought would have a great match and then it was really awkward?
I don't think so. I don't remember. I don't even remember.
There was someone. It was two women wrestlers, and I remember this would be a bit ago now, thinking like, oh, they're gonna have great matches like these two. And it was just like they didn't quite click right. And I want to say it was Bianca and Asuka, but maybe it was somebody else with one of them.
I don't remember them having a singles match in the main roster, those two, yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see.
I am glad that Asuka won because how I thought that was going to end with some kind of wonky finish where it would end up being a triple threat with the three of them. And I was saying, like, I hope it doesn't end like that. I hope that Asuka wins because I really want to see Asuka and Bianca have a match. And then I was happy that happened.
Yeah. So everything I'm seeing, it looks like they've been in matches together, but not one-on-one.
Yeah,
maybe I think it was Rhea Ripley and Asuka, maybe.
Maybe. I don't remember Bianca having like an awkward match, so I can't remember.
Maybe it was Rhea when Rhea was champ.
I don't remember.
But maybe that was it.
I'm very excited to see Asuka and Bianca, though. That'll be fun.
Yeah. I also would have liked to have seen Naomi versus like I understand very much so the problem of not giving the women's tag team championships the right or any consideration. But I will say that match, specifically of Bianca versus Naomi, would have been a great match. And I'm sad that we don't get that now. However, they could have done that match at some point without sacrificing any of the women's tag team championship stuff. I mean, even if Sasha was just like backing up Naomi, I mean, also I think Naomi would have had to have a heel turn for that, but whatever.
Yeah, I can understand why unhappy. Because I know there's people that are going to be like, well, why should they be mad? Because they were going to be booked to be in two main events. It was supposed to be that Sasha was going to go against Ronda and Naomi was going to go against Bianca. And yeah, I get it. They would have had to, they're both going after having matches with the champion on each brand. They were going to lose those matches to the champions on each brand, which I don't think Sasha likes to lose matches much.
I don't think Naomi would have had an issue with, I mean, being in a main event picture. What it seems like, how I'm reading what we've heard so far is that at the very least, Naomi took issue, and Sasha seems to be hanging her hat on taking issue with the fact that the tag team championships wouldn't have been booked or used during those 2 months, and that's some bullshit.
Yeah. And they were also unhappy that that Naomi was supposed to go over on Sasha. That's how that was supposed to end. Probably to start, planting the seeds for, because you know how WWE is. They never throw a tag. Like RK Bro is one of the rare exceptions that when they throw together these makeshift tag teams, they're not together long. They'll be together. They might win a championship, and then they do shit like this. They'll put them in some kind of like 3-way or like a fatal 4-way or a 6-pack where one will pin the other one, or like some kind of elimination match where one will throw one over the like the top of the rope and eliminate them.
I'm never upset when those things happen at the Royal Rumble, because those things never then come to fruition until much later down the road.
I'm not a fan of the trope. I'm just not a fan of it at all. Like the whole tag team, it's like they're constantly trying to chase after the Brett and Marty Jannetty thing that like happened in the barbershop like 30 years ago, and
that's definitely more than 30 years ago, right? Oh no, right? I don't.
30 years ago would be 92, so around that time.
Why do I always feel like that was in the 80s?
No, I was a little kid for that, and I only started watching wrestling in 89, so it had to be anywhere between like I'd say like 89 and 91, around that like
time frame. Yeah. It was, the whole thing like is just so bizarre to the point where at this point you kind of figure it's not a work, but at the beginning you're just like, what is this?
Yeah.
I will say, so usually I do take issue when, you know, wrestlers quote unquote take their ball and go home. But Naomi and Sasha did this not just because they didn't like how they were being booked. Like, oh, I don't want to lose this match. It was, these titles you told us were going to mean something, and you're dicking us over again, and you're screwing the women's division, and we're done. And that, I think, is honorable. And yeah.
Yeah, because contrary to what WWE's statement is saying, they did not have an issue working with anyone in that match. Their issue was they felt that other women should have been in that match in place of them, and they should have had a tag team, like any tag team, to go against.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like what Corey Graves said either on commentary, but that we all know that was not Corey's line. Like, people are giving Corey a lot of shit for it, but summarily and unprofessionally walked out. That was 10,000% Vince McMahon screaming that in his ear for him to say that on television. Mm-hmm. And what's Corey gonna do? Like, Corey's not gonna like not say it, because then he's gonna have more screaming in his ear and then more shit when the show's over. And
also, it's not like Corey would have known what was happening backstage either. If he had just been told, like, they walked out, if he heard that story that WWE fed everybody else, mm-hmm. you know, he might have been like, well, that's bullshit. Like, look at all these people. Because, like, especially little kids, as someone who just went to a live show, I probably just saw the last Glow Boss show ever. Like, there are a lot of kids that were really into them. There were a lot of people in general. So, like, if you're sitting there as someone who works in the company and your coworker, like, if you just think about at work, if people who were supposed to be doing the most for you basically walk out and also like spit on some kids as they're leaving, you might get a little pissed off until you find out what's been happening.
And I guess like they didn't know what was going on. Like I've heard so far today that Becky and Adam Pearce didn't really know what was going on. They were just told to go on and like do that little backstage segment that they did, but they weren't fully aware of what happened at that point either, from what I heard. Yeah, I mean, and then there's that friend of Naomi's who, you know, they said, I don't doubt that he's a friend, because that guy only had like at that point last night didn't even have 500 followers, and she was one of the followers, and he's from Orlando. So I don't doubt that that guy that like wrote that Twitter thread about everything that was happening, I don't think that he's lying about being her friend, because Naomi's not going to follow some random like dude with under like 500 followers just from Orlando. You know, like that makes no sense. So they probably do know each other. And his version of what happened is completely different than what WWE was putting out. which makes sense because WWE doesn't really release statements like that for backstage drama. So it definitely came across as this is not the whole story, and they are trying to cover their asses before more comes to light. I didn't think of it as like a storyline. I thought they're covering their asses. Something happened.
It was just bizarre. Like the whole thing was bizarre.
Yeah.
And who knows? Like maybe I mean more I'm sure will come out as this progresses, and who the hell knows what that'll be.
Yeah, who knows if Sasha will come back? I mean, she might be pulling a Punk. That's what I've seen people saying that you see on Punkin.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't think WWE is going to let either one of them out of their contracts. Because, I mean, while Sasha's under contract, she also can't do things like go off to Hollywood without their okay and things like that. And I think that, like, for walking out, when it was supposed to be the main event, I think Vince McMahon will be like, prepare to suffer, girly. And that whole thing where they can tack on time for, like, oh, like this can get ugly.
Yeah.
Naomi, I think, is more likely to wind up back. Just because, like, there's going to be more. She's never done anything like this before. Also, I mean, her husband's in the bloodline.
Yeah, I was gonna say being related to Roman and Jimmy and Jay Uso, like through marriage, like that certainly will help. I'm sure that when cooler heads talk, that they can help mediate.
Yeah.
A good go-between to help try to like figure something out. But this is not the first time that Sasha has left because she was unhappy. And this very well may be the straw that breaks the camel's back at this point, because those tag team titles are basically there because of Bayley and Sasha. They're the ones that wanted them and fought for them and got that created for that division. And those tag team belts have been treated as an afterthought pretty much since their inception. Like
they did when initially they did well when you know, it was a couple different tag teams and the Iconics were there, and Bayley and Sasha obviously. And you got to give it to Shayna and Nia. Like, they were on every show during the pandemic. Like, they were the workhorses of the pandemic when it came to that. Every show, SmackDown, Raw, NXT, they were there. And then we came out of the pandemic, and I was just like, oh, do we really need these titles on TV ever again? Baby me. When Nikki and Alexa had them, it was an interesting storyline there. And then now we're and then it picked up again with Boss Glow or Glow Boss. I don't know which way they're going.
You know, a good point about how irrelevant these have felt. Remember last night when I asked you, I don't remember who had them before Sasha, and
I gave the wrong answer too.
Yep, and you said Rhea and Liv, and I'm like, like an hour later, I was like, wait a minute, no, it was
they were in a match for them, but
it was Lena and Carmella.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you; these belts have not felt like they have meant anything since Bayley and Sasha first won them to me. I just feel like they've been treated either as a joke or an afterthought or a filler. They have not made them feel special since they were first won. There are women that tried to make them feel like they were special, but they have been booked to shit ever since they were first won.
Yeah, I mean, I love Shayna Baszler, so I'm very skewed with that. And I think because I saw how hard they were working to make them mean something. And they were getting the TV time at least. but like, it was not booked well.
No, it's not any of their. It's not the girls' fault. No. It's not any of their fault. they have not been treated like an actual title. They have been treated, I feel like, worse than the US title. Like,
better than the 24/7 championship.
not by much.
Yeah, I would say like that's not saying anything either.
No.
Yeah. The shittier thing is, while I think Naomi will be back in, like, I don't think she's going anywhere from WWE. I think because she walked out, I don't think we're ever going to see her with the women's belt again. Like, I really, they don't like, I mean, Sasha is like an exceptional case where they gave someone a belt after they like did a no-show. They're not known for being, Vince McMahon is not known for being forgiving for that kind of thing. And you don't want your champion, like you don't want to put the belt on someone and then have them be like, fuck you, I'm not coming into work, bro.
I feel like her connection with Roman might help. I think he has enough pull that he can maybe like advocate for her.
To keep her job, yes, but like even if you think about how she has been booked, every time Jimmy does something wrong, Jimmy doesn't pay for it, Naomi does. Now Naomi has done something wrong in the company's eyes for the first time ever. I think she's going to pay a heavier price out of anyone for that, unfortunately.
Still hoping that they put her with the bloodline and they put the belt on her to have all the belts in the bloodline. Like I'm still hoping that they want to go through with that storyline.
Hopefully. We'll see. I mean, thankfully Naomi isn't known for being hot-headed, so I think they can do some sort of mediation to get to a better place, I hope. I'm also very selfish and I'm not ready to give up on her Glow character, because even if she like left and went somewhere else to wrestle, it wouldn't be the Glow. Like she would reinvent herself like everyone does, and as I guess they should, whatever. But like I would just be so sad. I love her everything.
I mean, not necessarily. There are some people that go to different companies and pretty much keep the essence of their character. She may not be able to say, like, feel the glow because that's probably trademarked, but it doesn't mean she can't still wear, like, glow in the dark stuff and come out dancing to fun music and find some other way to incorporate glow into her. Like, WWE doesn't own the word glow. So.
Not yet. Don't give them ideas.
I mean, wouldn't Netflix is it Netflix or is it like Amazon or whatever that show?
Yeah, Netflix has the show Glow.
Yeah, they probably have more of a right to that than WWE would. But
yeah. Glow would have been on because it was a wrestling show. Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Yeah, I'm also someone who, with the exception of like Malachi Black, because he was in the middle of, not even the middle, he was in the very beginning of that. So just taking that story and moving it with him and changing it a bit, I was fine with. But generally, when people go to different promotions, I like for them to change.
Cody stayed the same.
That's true.
CM Punk's basically the same as he's been since Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Daniel Bryan changes himself fairly, like, enough about himself where it works. But William Regal has changed, like, enough about himself as well.
I think with Bryan Danielson, he kind of went back more to what he was before WWE than like him changing his character. Like he's got the whole American Dragon thing going on again, and I'm gonna kick your fucking, or he's gonna kick your fucking head in, and all that shit like came back.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he is such a, he has been in so many different promotions. Like, that's the other thing. Like, if you've been in so many different promotions, you can kind of pull back on previous characters. Naomi's only ever been with WWE for like 10 years now, I think it is, which is pretty. I mean, let's just talk about the fact that it used to be unheard of for women to be in a wrestling company for that long. And now, like, Natalia's been there for that long. Naomi, it's starting to become more and more. Alicia Fox was there for fucking forever.
I mean, granted, 10 years ago from right now, she was a Funkadactyl dancing alongside of
Cameron? No. Yes.
It was Cameron, but what was the dude's name? Something Clay?
Funkasaurus.
Brodus Clay? Was that his name?
Clay, there we go. I almost said Clay Aiken. She stands alongside Clay Aiken, the famous wrestler.
Who apparently, like, Brodus Clay is on Fox News a lot, so I could tell you how he is as a person.
I think he was on Glow, actually. He did, like, that's the one cool thing about Glow, because I did watch that show. They would have wrestlers come in, like Johnny Nitro was in that. Did I tell you I was watching a show and he was an extra, but he played, what was it? What the hell was I watching? The Guest Book on Hulu, I think it is. It's hilarious, but he was playing like an extra. He didn't even speak, but he was playing a porn star.
Oh, God.
And, like, that's all it was just him, like, taking off his clothes and, like, humping.
That's funny.
And I was watching with my friend who's not a wrestling fan. I was like, that's a wrestler. And she was like, what? And I was like, I've seen that man topless a lot. That is a wrestler. That's Johnny Nitro.
I remember before I started watching it again, because I was still living at home, but Brian and I were together, and I used to watch SVU and NCIS, like, constantly on USA. So obviously I saw a lot of commercials for wrestling. That's how I found out that The Miz was wrestling, because of me watching, like, SVU and NCIS. But I remember seeing, like, he was John Morrison there, and I didn't know who he was or what his name was. Nothing about him. I just remember seeing it. I'm like, holy shit, that dude looks like Jim Morrison from The Doors. And then I come to find out later that, like, his name was John Morrison, and it was John Morrison there because he looked like Jim Morrison. And, like, that's wild. Didn't know anything about him. Just thought, wow, that dude looks just like Jim Morrison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm doing a rewatch of The Highlander from the 90s. And as I'm watching it, I was just like, oh, you know, there's so many. I might have even said this to you. I said it to somebody. It's like, I'm really shocked that they don't have, because there's so many special guests. I was like, I'm surprised there's not a wrestler on here. As I'm watching, Piper pops up. Of course, a heel. He's a bad guy, immortal, and, like, he's like an assassin who's being paid in sex, basically. That's the best way to explain it. Like, he's a bad guy, but he's kind of doing it for love, but he also really loves killing.
I loved Piper so much when I was a kid. He was one of my absolute favorites. Like, him, Macho Man, Brett, like, they were, like, some of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. Piper was just one of those, like, I didn't watch wrestling when I was a kid, but I knew who he was. Him, Macho Man, Andre the Giant, obviously, because I loved Princess Bride.
Yes. That was my first that was my first experience with Andre, I think, before wrestling, was Princess Bride.
Yeah, he was my favorite. If someone had asked me when I was a kid who my favorite wrestler was, I definitely would have said Andre the Giant because of Princess Bride. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of kids, like, because as you're watching it, someone's always like, oh, that guy's a professional wrestler. Unless you have my mother, who's like, that guy's dead. My mother would do that to me all the time as I was watching stuff. They're dead.
Oh my god. Yeah, I loved Princess Bride. I was a strange child. I didn't watch, like, your typical Disney and, like, cartoons and stuff. I had a VHS for you old people that my parents recorded on it, or a couple of them. The Princess Bride was on one of them. Spaceballs was on another, but they edited the part where it said "fuck," even in the future nothing works. You know, if you pause something and you record it, it went staticky. Beetlejuice, which they edited that, so Nice Fucking Model I didn't know existed in that movie until I was, like, 13 and saw it, like, not on my tape. And Pee-wee's Great Adventure. they were 4 movies that I used to watch over and over and over again. I was a strange child.
I also, so Princess Bride, I watched all the time. Same thing, Labyrinth, also that weird Tom Cruise movie with the unicorn and Tim Curry as the devil. It is the scariest thing. It's a young Tom Cruise, like a very Tom Cruise unicorn.
Oh, speaking of Tim Curry, I forgot The Worst Witch was another movie I used to watch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but Beetlejuice I watched all the time, but I did not watch the edited version. Legend, that's what it's called, Legend. Tim Curry is the fucking scariest thing. Like I still have nightmares sometimes that involve Tim Curry. Unicorns were and are my favorite animal. And in it he's killing unicorns. So it was really just traumatizing for me.
I've never seen Labyrinth, and I know I need to see it. I have the book downstairs. I bought it, which I haven't read yet because my to be read list is
gigantic.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that buys books all the time, and then I don't get to read it until like years after I bought it because I just keep buying books. But yeah, I've never seen Labyrinth before. I keep telling myself I'm gonna watch it. I don't know if you're like this, but like people like suggest something to watch or like there's something that you know you need to watch, but you have to like get into the certain mood set to finally do it. Yeah. And I haven't been there yet, but I'm gonna watch it one day.
It's a great movie, and like there's some songs that are like earworms that'll get in there. But fun fact about that movie that I know, David Bowie is wearing a cup in it because initially he wasn't, and he was concerned that you could see a little too much Bowie.
I've heard that rumor.
Yeah.
I've actually heard that before.
Yeah. But yeah, when I was a little girl, my 2 favorite movies were, and like when I was like 4 or 5, were The Little Mermaid and Pretty Woman. Unedited.
Huh.
My mother let me watch Pretty Woman and the Lethal Weapon movies, but I was not allowed to watch Clueless. And like watching it when I got older, I was like, oh, okay, I get these sexual references. When I was in like my 20s, I got them. I was like, I wouldn't have understood those when I was a kid. However, I definitely like understood the racism and the drugs and the cursing that were happening in Lethal Weapon. Oh, and the hooker love story of Pretty Woman. What the fuck?
So I didn't not watch Disney. That's not it. Like I did still watch some of it, and Little Mermaid was one that I remember seeing that in the theater when it came out. And my preschool graduation gift from my parents was it was the video when it came out because it came out like right around the time I graduated. So I do own the cover that has the penis on the castle.
Oh yeah.
That apparently that's worth a shit ton of money now if you still have them.
I have the movie poster. I wonder, like the gigantic original one. My dad had it, got it for me, and it is framed in glass. So I'll have to look and see if the penis is on it. If so, that shit's going up on my wall now.
Yeah, I gotta find it. I think it's at my parents' house, like in the basement or something. I'm dying to find it and like to see how. I don't think I'd ever sell it. Like I know that like pristine copies go for thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that they were for sale long before people were complaining about it, and I think it's like really rare to own that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to just still have it because technically it's mine. It was my gift.
Do you remember, like, I can still remember when you talk like VHS, specifically Disney VHSs. Like, I remember the smell of the plastic things, like, and opening it, like that plastic smell. It is etched into my brain to the point where when you say VHS, I can smell it and taste it a little.
You know how long like we had VHSs when I think about it? I think one of the last VHSs that I owned was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And then after that we started getting DVDs.
one of the last ones I remember I got Harriet the Spy. Hmm?
I loved that movie.
I got that. Wild America. I was obsessed with both Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Devon Sawa.
Yeah, I was a JTT girl as well.
Solid choice for the doctor
Famous.
now.
Almost Famous was another VHS I had. Just that was one of the last ones I got.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas. But yeah, I just remember the sound of it opening and the smell hitting your face.
I was gonna say that noise, like that, like.
But yes, so my weird wrestling paraphernalia thing today are these glasses, which I got in my Slam crate forever ago, which, if you look, hang on, let's see. Nope. There we go. Legit boss. I thought that this was appropriate. If I had my Sasha Banks shirt is in the laundry, so there was no way I was going to be able to wear that because I was sweating in it.
It was hot. It was hot that day.
Yeah, it was.
You wear those to the show?
I did not wear these to the show, no. I forgot that I had them. This is actually, I've had these for years, and this is actually the first time I've done anything with them, so. Yep.
We are all blessed.
Yes. Feel very blessed. I do not feel that you are all okay, Cornettes.
Or not vomit.
Cornette vomit. Yeah, that's definitely going to be the clip that I send off to TikTok of us.
Nice.
Yes, I think that sums up our feelings for this week for now.
Yeah, long one this week.
I mean, a lot happened.
Yeah.
Hopefully good, and then one real big bad.
Yeah, the one big bad was like at least 20 minutes worth of talk because there's just so much speculation right now, and more will definitely come to light, I'm sure, but it's just weird. It was a weird situation. Nothing's felt this weird since Punk walked out in 2014, I don't think. Like,
yeah. And we had some interesting tangents between the VHS tapes and Florida Man.
I mean, for us, we didn't veer off the wrestling lane too much today for such a long podcast. Like,
that is true. And man, do I find veer boring.
I say to you, because I was
you were like, I know it's impossible to give.
I was very proud of that line.
Yeah.
Hold on. Before we leave, I'd like to find that again.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too far back.
Right? It was just like yesterday.
Yeah, right.
This will tell you how much we message each other back and forth.
Well, I think the Naomi and Sasha thing, like, just got, like, broke right after that. So where the hell was it?
I know I saw it when I was going through looking for
Oh, here it is. So I said to you, they say absolute zero cannot be reached, but somehow the level of fucks I give about Veer is lower than absolute zero.
Yeah.
He's just so boring.
Yeah. So boring.
It's like they're trying to do Rusev again, but not, like, it's not working. He has the same finisher and everything. It's just...
Yeah. The man has a nice head of hair.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He had a nice Veer is coming for 8 months.
Yep. To wind up with this.
Yeah, I know. Ugh. Well, anywho.
So on that note, we will leave you, as always, with hustle, loyalty, and respect.